This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
3 days in a row, 3 mornings in a row, Congressman Peter King has joined us here. Once again, he's on the most powerful radio station by day in the nation, most powerful at night. Good morning again, Congressman Peter King.
Good morning, Curtis. I'm just not used to agreeing with you, so I don't know what's going on here. Something, one of us is breaking down. We got to get back to normal and start fighting again.
Well, you got to tell us what's going on with Speaker Johnson. It seems like he is in a precarious position now. Maybe the president is no longer going to offer him a lifeline to stay as Speaker.
Yeah, I don't know who else they can use. Here's what I'm saying is he has like a 2 or 3 vote majority. When he wanted to get to what's called a continuing resolution to keep the government open, he had a number of his own Republicans who would not support it. That required him to get Democrats to come on board, and for them to come on board, you had to make concessions to them. Then the very people who prevented it from coming to a vote in the first place, they turned on Johnson because he made concessions to the Democrats. There was no other way he could make it work. You have to keep the government running. The Speaker of the House, he's the party leader in the House, but he's also has to be bipartisan. The Speaker is, the title itself means like you're above the battle. You try to get your party platform through, but you also have to make sure the government continues to run. And that's what I thought Mike Johnson did as good a job as anyone could do in putting together some sort of a compromise, kept the government open. And he also included in there, as New Yorkers, we should realize that one of the items that Elon Musk and others were objecting to and had to be taken out was the 9/11 healthcare money. That was considered a waste of money by these people. Mike Johnson made a commitment to New York. I first met Mike Johnson when he was only in his first and second term in Congress, and I was trying to get the Victims' Compensation bill through in 2019, the Victims' Compensation Act in 2019, and Mike Johnson, as a junior member, was one of those who led the fight for it. So I give him great credit. These people are purists, they're headline hunters. They will always pick out 2, 3, or 4 things they don't like and use that as an excuse. We will never have a speaker if we continue with this type of...
I mean, the Democrats, Peter, the Democrats have absolute control over their members. Well, what's going on in the Republican Party?
You say what you want about Nancy Pelosi. She only had like a 4 or 5 vote majority the last time she was a speaker. But she ran it with an iron hand. She wouldn't let AOC or any of that crowd interfere with what she wanted to get done. And, John, we've always had this tradition. The party elects the speaker. The majority party elects the speaker, and you give deference to that speaker as the speaker tries to put together coalitions to get it through. Now you have a handful of people, many in the Freedom Caucus, who wanted 100%. They wanted their way or the highway, and that's not common sense, John. Common sense is you make the best deal you can. Ronald Reagan was probably the most conservative president we had until that time. Tip O'Neill was one of the most liberal, if not the most liberal speaker ever. And yet they were able to come together. They made compromises when they had to. And when they couldn't, then they went their own way. But they didn't get into these kind of petty fights we see going on now. And that was Reagan and Tip O'Neill being able to compromise. Now we have the speaker came and compromised with his own party because of these purists and headline hunters who wanted to be their way or the highway and then complain when nothing is done.
Well, Hakeem Jeffries, who will be the speaker the next time the Democrats are in the majority, has basically said to Speaker Johnson, "You're on your own. We're not helping you any longer. You walk the gangplank on your own." What does that mean?
It means that Hakeem Jeffries realizes the good position that these rebel Republicans have put him in. This handful of people, maybe it's 5, 10, I don't know how many of them there are, who are keeping Mike Johnson from getting the job done, they have in effect given veto power to Hakeem Jeffries. Because now he's the one who's going to decide whether or not things go forward. Because Mike Johnson, or whoever the speaker is going to need Democratic votes. So this is a circular firing squad. It makes absolutely no sense. If we want Donald Trump to get his agenda through, he has a limited period of time. maybe a year, 18 months. You can't be wasting weeks and months at the beginning by fighting over who the speaker is going to be. Get a speaker in there, have him work with the president, get as much done as you can, but also keeping in mind, whenever Donald Trump is looking for, he's never going to get 100%. Ronald Reagan didn't get 100%, but he turned the country around. If Donald Trump can get 80%, 75%, 85%, he's going to be a phenomenal president. That's what we have to work for. Get as much done as we can. And, John, they should have you down there constantly talking about common sense. That's what we need, not headline hunting, 100% agendas.
But it seems President Donald Trump doesn't have control of quite a few of them. When he wanted a elimination of the debt ceiling so that there was no level, the Republicans rebelled against that. They rebelled against the incoming president. So it just seems like it's a fait accompli. I don't see how they save Speaker Johnson.
But then, listen, I'm not tied to Mike Johnson. I think he's doing as good a job as anybody could do. But if they have somebody else, who is it? I mean, who is going to do the job? Who is going to be able to get something that appeals to every vote is going to get all 219 Republicans? It's just not possible.
Well, our own Greg Kelly has suggested Elon Musk himself, because you don't have to be a member of the House, correct?
No, he's the last person. He's the guy that knocked the 9/11 health care out of the bill.
How about Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan?
Scalise, I think would be a good job. Would do a good job. He's been sick lately, but apparently, he's on the comeback trail with that. Steve would do a great job, but again, they voted him down. Also, I mean, he was the second choice after Kevin McCarthy was out. And again, those people on the right, extreme right, Freedom Caucus, they didn't want Steve Scalise. As far as Jim Jordan, my problem with Jim, and he's a nice guy personally, he's always been against New York. He was one of the leaders in the fight against, again, I keep going back to 9/11 healthcare, and also on the Sandy money coming in after the terrible hurricane we had. So I think Mike Johnson is the guy. I mean, here I am from New York. I'm saying good things about a guy from Louisiana. People from the South, he's going to be with every group maybe 90% of the time. He's not going to be with anyone 100%.
Mike Johnson has common sense.
Yes.
Yeah, he does. And so if they say get rid of Johnson, who do they have that can get those 218 votes that are needed and is going to be so tied into? Listen, you can't let the Freedom Caucus or any caucus, you can't let New York run the House. You can't let the Freedom Caucus run. The Republican Party is various groups and different coalitions you put together, and then you get the best deal you possibly can, knowing that you're never going to get everything. John, with all the real estate deals and business deals you've made, or maybe you do get 100% of what you want. I don't know.
No, never. You make the best deal you can.
And the best deal is going. Then you're able to go forward. I think Reagan proved the importance of that. And people who want everything, like FDR, was making tremendous impact during the 1930s. Then suddenly he wanted everything. He wanted to pack the court. He wanted to purge people in his own party who didn't agree with him. And he suffered devastating losses in the 1938 elections. You have to know how far you can go, and you go there, but don't overextend yourself.
Well, I think part of the reason you love Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan the way they sat down is because they'd be tipping one another with hard liquor. They'd be downing it, and I can imagine Peter King there, the Irishman from Nassau County, knocking it back with Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. Yes or no?
Yes, but we'd probably do it in King Umberto's. So it'll be two Irish guys in an Italian restaurant.
Anyway, once again, appreciate it. Congressman Peter King, who has joined us for the trifecta.